26 years ago, I was seemingly pretty successful
Uh,
by all accounts. I owned a trucking company. I had purchased my first home. I was only 18 at the time. I was also modeling, traveling a lot, but I was crippled. I was crippled on the inside, and my outside appearances looked really, really good, but the inside didn't match the outside, and I was just miserable. I was struggling.
Welcome, everybody. It's time once again for the next chapter with Charlie Hedges as he explores turning the page on his life and yours. Hi there, and welcome to the next chapter with Charlie. Today we are chatting with an old friend who was a guest, by the way. Shauna Offerman was a guest on the show in my very earliest days of doing the next chapter. On May of 2017, she was the 35th guest. So, and she came to a studio to do radio. We were live and in person. Um, um, it was so fun, and just as this is so fun. And in that show, we discovered Shauna is what I'm thinking of. I don't know if she's ever titled herself this, but she's sort of a pioneer. Shauna Offerman marches to the beat of her own drum. And I wrote for myself, yippee! Today, Shauna has created a lifestyle that matches her personality. And let's find out more from a creative pioneer. And to do that, let's bring Shauna Opferman on the show. Shauna, welcome to the next chapter with Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
It's going to be fun.
It is. I can't wait. It was fun the first time.
Yeah, hopefully this will equal it or surpass that.
Yes.
Now, I yesterday when we talked, because we talked yet, no, we talked Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, we talked 2 days ago. I discovered so much about you and your move from the noise of Orange County to the quiet of Missouri. Is that right, Missouri?
Yep.
Did I remember correctly? Good.
Yes.
So I took no notes, so I thought we would just talk fresh today. But then this morning you put a post out on something. I don't know what platform because I get it on my email. It says read a post from Shauna Offerman. And you talked about yourself 26 years ago. My friend, there's so much more to you than I ever knew. You were a business owner, a model, you were buying a house. And sometime I want to talk more about that. So I am wondering, where in the world do we start with this creative person who's lived, who's been reincarnated several times in his lifetime? And that's fun, and I really identify with that. So what do you feel like? I'm kind of going with the gut on this because you are so creative and you have such imagination and so many stories. Where do you feel like is a good starting point? Do you have a point that you feel you'd like to start at?
I mean, I don't even know because I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes. So pick up anywhere and the story will go where it goes.
Okay, so tell me just basically, tell me where you're at right now, and then we'll go back to where you were before. Tell me about the pioneer Shauna living, who went from city life of Orange County to the very very rural life of Missouri. Tell me about that.
Honestly, best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm.
My body has been a lot healthier. My mind has been a lot healthier. I came from a small town in the Midwest, and so that's always where I wanted to be. Orange County was too populated for me. So coming back out here to the Midwest, I've been able to slow back down, enjoy my time. I say I'm retired. I guess I'm semi-retired. I am a realtor. Um,
See, I didn't even know that. I didn't, when you were retired, I wonder where are you retiring from? You were a realtor.
I'm a realtor now, so I'm self-employed technically. But I was, a an addiction specialist for over 20 years.
An
Retiring from that
addiction
industry.
specialist. What now? See, you keep bringing up these terms that I've got to ask questions. What is an addiction specialist?
So I specialized in treating as a part of a team somebody who came into rehab with mental health and substance abuse problems. I was their substance abuse counselor. I did my internship under somebody who was one of the leading eating disorder treatment centers in the United States.
No kidding. So, are you realtors, substance abuse, or what kind of counselor did we call that again?
You can call it an alcohol and drug counselor, a substance
Okay,
abuse counselor. My
okay.
licensing was as an addiction specialist.
And you have some familiarity with addiction.
A lot of familiarity with addiction.
That's where we met in
Right,
addiction meetings.
right.
Yeah, and you were always, that was what attracted me to you is that you were so helpful in my sobriety. And it just, you don't know it, because we didn't chat about it often, but what you had to say in those meetings and the lifestyle that you, that you lived at that time were very attractive to me. And I thought, this is a woman I want to pay attention to. She's very solid.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So you live rurally now. Now
Right.
let's I really want to come to that. I want to come to you're raising vegetables in your backyard, trading for goods that you want instead of buying things. You trade neighbors. Doesn't mean you don't buy things, but you trade with neighbors, and you have created this. I think I've titled this show. Let me see real quickly what I've titled this: creating a new normal. And but you create a new normal. It's kind of not quite you even more radically than me, but like every 7 years there's a new normal. So
Yeah, I'm always in a different phase of my life.
yeah, well that's great. That's great. So tell me, you put this 26 years ago. Shauna Offerman was. Tell me about Shauna Offerman 26 years ago, as you wrote in the post today.
26 years ago, I was seemingly pretty successful
Uh
by
huh.
all accounts. I owned a trucking company. I had purchased my first home. I was only 18 at the time. Um, I was also modeling, traveling a lot. Um, I was trying to leave Arkansas every weekend pretty much. So I'd either go visit family in Chicago or I'd go to Dallas or Memphis for the weekend or something. I'd come out to California for photo shoots. Um, but I was crippled. I was crippled on the inside, and my outside appearances looked really, really good. But the inside didn't match the outside. It was essentially a highlight reel. And I was in a domestic violence situation where I was assaulted in multiple ways regularly. I was sober, but I was doing things that sober people maybe shouldn't be doing and putting myself in positions that I shouldn't be putting myself in. Um, and I was just miserable. I was struggling. I was struggling, and I was sick. You know, I was very malnourished at the time because of the modeling. And my agent and the agency told me to lose 20 more pounds. And I was already wearing children's clothing as an
Yeah, you
adult.
said you weighed 115 pounds. They wanted you to lose 20.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that is so unhealthy.
Right. So it was just a really, rough time in my life. I didn't know what disordered eating did to the body then. Um, I learned that later on. But essentially, over time, if you deprive your body enough from nutrients, you can develop something similar to Wernicke-Korsakoff or wet brain.
I'm not even familiar with what that is, Shauna.
Wet brain is alcoholics, usually long term alcoholics, suffer from wet brain. Basically, their brain deteriorates. If you do imaging, you'll see black spots where there's no living brain matter anymore, essentially. Like the cells in your brain just start dying off at a rapid rate, and it looks almost like Alzheimer's.
No kidding. Was that from drinking?
I fortunately did not develop that from drinking or from my eating disorder, but I have seen it in both.
No kidding. So, there's so many tracks not so many. There's at least a couple tracks that I want to go, and this was never on our notes, never on our discussion. So it just I knew that live questions would come up, and I would be thinking, what, mm, mm, I don't know if drive is the right word, but why do women? What is it that keeps women in an abusive relationship, rather than just walking and saying, "I'm out of this thing"?
In a lot of areas of my life, I was very powerful, but at home, I felt very powerless. I
Uh
was
huh.
isolated from everybody that I knew. I didn't know anybody in Arkansas. My closest relatives were 7 hours away in Chicago. Um, I had money, but he was controlling, so he had control of the bank accounts. I did not. Um, and because of that, it was very difficult to escape. I called my mother and I asked her for help, and she told me, "You made your bed, now lie in it," and she hung up on me. So
Shauna, these are horror stories.
I know they are, but like in retrospect, they were actually character builders, you know?
Of course, of course. I think I look at my life of incredible highs and some pretty significant lows, and the growth always comes. The maturity always comes from how we approach and we manage our difficulties.
Hmm.
So now my next question in line with that, you said your next husband was the same way. Um, what is the addiction that goes to controlling? Is it safe to be under a controlling husband? Is that
Um,
safer for you?
well, I actually meant that I had married two closeted homosexual men.
Well, that shows what a sweetheart you are because they're driven to the sweetheart. They're driven
I
to the
mean,
nice woman.
somebody's told me that before, that they don't feel judged by me, but like, I mean, you didn't have to start a relationship with me. We could have just like been friends, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's fascinating. That's more than fascinating. There's just we can go down that track. But you know what I want to know? I want to know. So you're in Orange County. You are paying incredible, stupid rent that you pay, you know, 20% of that on a mortgage now, or 30% of that on a mortgage now, owning a house in
Mm.
Missouri. Um, was that how big of a driver was what was the driver to move to Missouri?
Um, well, we came out here on our honeymoon. Uh, Mostly it was so that James could fall in love with it, because I kind of already knew I wanted to move back to the Midwest. I'd been trying to get out of California for a long time, but I couldn't just ditch my kids. So, um, the drive really to leave there and come here was very strong, but I had to wait it out, and I bought this place sight unseen
Was
because I
it
was
well? But you're a
desperate.
realtor, so you certainly had a lot more information than most people have.
I actually only became a realtor last year out here.
Oh, so you weren't a realtor at that time.
No, I was just still working on the back end, I guess, of drug and alcohol treatment, doing a utilization review with insurance companies to try and get treatment authorized. And then was in a position where I was able to retire, but I can't just do nothing. So I became a realtor.
So tell me about your life. You know what? I'm curious. We talk so much. Tell me about your lifestyle in Missouri. I mean, This is not a California lifestyle.
This is not a California lifestyle. Out here, I have a garden that I grow every year. I grow in it and I grow the garden larger every season. So I'm better get in the designing process of this next one. But I grow as much as I can as far as fruit and vegetables. I've been dabbling in grains a little bit, some lower gluten wheat and some buckwheat and oats and stuff like that. And then we hunt. Uh, you
See,
know,
that would that kill me. We hunt. I mean, that is such an anomaly to California. I
right? It
mean,
is.
I
It
don't even
is.
know what hunting and but you eat the food that you hunt for. You're hunting for
Nothing.
food.
Yeah, nothing goes to waste. So we eat the meat. We
Hmm.
also save the the skin, the hide. Um, Try to save the skull. This one, I don't think we were able to. I think some scavengers took off with it. And then also we keep the legs and the hooves to make racks and stuff out of them.
So you're not like going back 100 years ago. You're going back 150 years ago.
I mean, maybe it's just at least I kind of know where my food is coming from. It's not. It doesn't have all kinds of weird poison, factory fed poisons in it. You know, they've
Oh
been
my goodness.
eating
Yeah.
off the land, so that's good. And when I did live in California, I had an archery instructor, and he used to go hunting in Colorado, and he would bring me back some boar and elk. So I've been used to game meat for a while. So we do that, and then I have friends, kind of from like a co-op kind of thing, that raise other types of animals, and we trade. I generally trade my baked goods for um, rabbit meat or eggs.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. And so you hunt. You grow your own food. and and your attitude. I've seen you showed me photos, and you look like a woman from the 50s from your photos.
Right.
And you said that's sort of intentional. You like that era.
I do. I really love the 1940s. I love World War II and post World War II, up until mid-century.
What? So you didn't love the wars, but you loved the culture of the people at the time.
Yes, I loved that there was like such a sense of pride and unity. I love learning about women who worked with the Allied forces as spies. Um, and we're pretty integral parts of winning the war.
Yeah, there's been, I'm a film buff. I go to the movies 3 to 4 times a week. I have this pass that I pay $28 a month, and I can go to, at this one theater in AMC, I can go to 4 movies a week for $28 a month.
Wow.
So it's like free,
Right.
so I'm except for if I just decide to buy snacks, but I don't even do that anymore. I sneak in water and a power bar. Um, but there are a small handful of films about women spies that are giving us a greater impression or a greater understanding of what women contributed in a lot of areas during the war
Mhm.
efforts. What would you see yourself? Let's imagine Shauna Offerman in the 1940s. What would you be doing in the 40s?
I mean, I would hope that I would be some sort of either like heavy equipment mechanic, or um, have you ever seen the show Bomb Girls?
I have not.
So it's set during that time, but they're in Canada, I believe. And so the girls on there are working in the munitions factory.
So you don't see yourself as a spy.
I very well could be a spy.
Well, all of us alcoholics And those who are good at addicted at something, we are people of secrets. We
Correct.
live secret lives. We live two or three lives. If I mean two or three lives at one time.
At one
I mean,
time.
yeah. I mean, we'll live several different lives, several different epochs in a lifetime. But at one time, we have so many secrets. We can be two to three different people.
Hmm.
Depending on the audience,
Right.
and so that makes for a good spy if you
Yeah,
can.
I mean, I could, but then I also have a problem where I just say what everybody is thinking, and that maybe would sometimes blow my cover.
Well, you would be trained out of that one. Yeah, you're also good because I saw you in AA and 12-step programs. You're also you're very committed to the steps
Hmm.
and to the process. So it seems to me once you adopt a process, you will be set into that process.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. It's been the same my whole life. Like once I've made up my mind, that's it. There's no turning back. I'm not going back on it. I have a high level of discipline and self accountability.
I appreciate that because I think I can identify with that because in 2020 I've been sober the second time since 2011. I was sober for 12 years before that, but then I took a 2-year break and did my own thing, and that's when I got into all my trouble. I was 51 years old
Mm.
at that point, got into all my trouble, but then I've got whatever number of years, 15 years past that, it comes to where I think I've counted, I think I've got 27 years of sobriety, but it took me 28 years to get there. But I too, I do all of that to say that I too identify with self accountability. I quit attending meetings at COVID just because it was not possible. There were no meetings at COVID.
Hmm.
Zoom meetings I didn't need that. And I discovered, I've always said, the meetings were a support, but my decision when I make up my mind I'm not going to do something anymore, it's like done. It's like
Right.
set in stone. And we were talking about that the other day, and I said I will not drink because I know me. I know there's no way, there's no way I can drink because I'm of the ilk of the old one drink is too many and 20 isn't enough.
Hmm.
Because I didn't drink every day, but when I did drink, there was no stopping, and I don't want to turn into that beast again.
Right.
Yeah, because that was not fun.
Yeah, I was not a pleasant person when I was a drunk.
Really.
Hmm. I'm I was probably pretty violent,
Yeah, that's interesting. I
but I
think
was also a mouthy teenager.
what was
So
that?
I was also a mouthy teenager because you have to remember I did all my drinking as a child and an adolescent, and then stopped at 14.
Oh, you stopped drinking at 14?
Hmm.
Did you really?
I did.
I had no idea. I thought you were like the rest of us.
Nope, I got sober at 14.
So what kept you in AA?
It worked. It was what I needed at the time. My kids, as you know, are and always have been a primary driving force between, for everything that I do.
Yeah. And did you ever feel like you had that also it was for you, but did you ever feel like you were there for other people? Did you recognize your influence on other people?
I don't think I did, and I don't know as though a lot of people recognize that. when they have effects like that on other people. I have had experiences where I came to understand why I went through things because my shares did deeply affect some people who had gone through the same thing that I went through, but chose the opposite action that I chose. And their lives turned out very differently because of that.
So, like, opposite action, what kind of actions would they take?
Uh, I believe one guy, I had shared about the abuse that was happening at my kid's dad's house and how I dealt with that. Um, Despite the fact that everything in me wanted to put hands on him, I did not want my kids to be stuck without a mom or any break from his house. So I chose to deal with things legally and through the court. And the other person who was in the meeting where I shared what was going on chose to kidnap, hold hostage, and um, end somebody else's life that had done the same thing that had been done to my daughter. And so as a result, he spent like 18 years in prison and had no relationship with the daughter who he was trying to protect.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, so I want to get back to, the viewers of this will note. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use an image of you. I have one that's a lovely image. I mean, I have four that you gave me that are, just beautiful images of Shauna Offerman, the model. But you also sent me one with Shauna Offerman, the alligator wrestler,
That is
and
true.
and that's what made this show. That's what I that image made the image of this show because it is so cool. Tell me about alligator wrestling.
Okay, so my husband was in a catastrophic industrial accident in 2021. We got married on the 1 year anniversary of his accident to kind of take that day back. It's ours. It's not going to be that day. And as a result of this accident, he couldn't fly in an airplane. He was limited on where we could travel because of the health conditions resulting from that accident. So we did a road trip in USA, honeymoon, where I feel like we did 12 states in 16 days or something like that. But there was a place, and some people may know it because I believe Shaq made it popular, but there was a place in,
Shaq O'Neal.
yeah, there was a place in Colorado. It started out as a tilapia farm, and then they had to control the tilapia population. So then they brought in gators and took in rescue reptiles and stuff. The gator from Happy Gilmore is actually there. And so it's actually a really neat program. They burned down, so I don't know how much is rebuilt, but they had this really cool program and it was called Gatorade. Because you have to think these gators are put in a pen that mimics a small pond or a lake. There's hundreds of them in there easily. So they do attack each other. And those wounds need to be tended to. So they have a program called Gatorade. And essentially, you have to capture and wrestle these gators and get them to like calm down and apply ointment, clean up their wounds and apply ointment and stuff to it. So it's not like I was doing crazy Florida gator wrestling. I was actually doing things that are helping the gators. But it was a cool experience.
That is just, how I've never heard of anything like that. I mean, that is, that is so, I know I'm talking to Shauna whenever I hear that. Nope, I didn't wrestle them for the fun of wrestling. I really wrestled them to calm them down so we could medicate them.
But also, wrestling alligators is fun.
And it's not dangerous?
Oh no, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. Their mouths are not. I was also the one to tape their mouths if I was transferring them to a different pen. So you have to like,
Did you work there?
no, no, I paid to do this.
You paid to do this.
I
You
sure
paid to be
did.
this.
You have to sign all these forms because, I mean, you can realistically die, realistically lose digits or limbs. There is, I'm glad I didn't see it until after I had wrestled the gators, but they have a shelf like in their gift shop of uh, the fingers and toes and stuff that people have lost through their Gatorade program.
That's in their gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a finger.
No, no, it's just for display.
Oh, good.
Now, for the,
I'm thinking these are your gifts. Buy a finger.
no, that would be something.
How funny. How
So I'm
funny.
just glad I didn't see it before I wrestled the gators. It might have deterred me because it's a little scary when you're seeing grown men's fingers and toes and various other body parts, in jars on a shelf.
Various other body parts. I don't even want to know what various other body parts are. When you speak that language, it starts scaring me.
As a matter of fact, too, the I don't know what you want to call him, the guide, the professional wrangler. I don't know. He got bit while he was demonstrating what to do with these gators.
And you stayed in.
I did.
What did James say about all this?
It was his job to get the pictures.
So, he has no comment. It's just like my wife is gonna. By that time, he knew you, and
Absolutely, he knew me.
there's no stopping this. I mean, to try to. I guess there would be if he tried to raise a stink. You probably would have listened, but he said, "I'm going so against her personality."
That would be 100% against my personality. They start you out small. You start out like with these tiny little, I don't know, 1 foot gators whose mouths are tied shut. You hold them, and they work you up. So you don't just get thrown in with the big boys. You start out very small and work your way up from like a tank to like a wading pool to, a smaller pond.
It's like merit badges, getting
Yeah.
your, going up the step ladder. Now, was this one day or did this take several days?
No, I just did this all in one day. I wrestled about 6 gators.
That is so funny.
But nobody else, I've never met anybody else that has wrestled gators before.
Oh, why do you think we're talking about it? It's certainly not common. And then to wrestle them not for the sport of it. I mean, partly for the sport because there is fun to it,
Right,
but there was a need that you were meeting that would help the Gators themselves.
right.
And
And,
you,
the place is called Colorado Gators, and I think some things are also by donation. So the fact that I paid to do this is also helping them contribute, to the survival of the animals that are in their care.
are animals big in your life now?
I Yes, they are big in my life. I have several inside cats. We came out here with 1 cat and 1 dog. The cat we had adopted from the pound. The dog James had adopted from the pound long before we got together. So we came out here and then we went to our city's 4th of July celebration and we were riding our bicycles back at night and there was a kitten just in the grass and James said, "Oh, stop, look." And so we stopped and we looked and then another kitten appeared and then another kitten appeared. So anyway, we ended up taking home. Not that night. It took us 2 days to catch them because we had to trick them. But we ended up taking home a colony of feral cats from the farm at the end of our street. So now we have an inside colony of feral cats that are now fat house cats, plus the stray. The dog passed away. And then outside, we have a house set up that has cameras in it so we can watch who comes and who goes. And we have a regular stream of feral cats. One of them is the mother of our feral cats. We also have possums, we have a fox, we have a few stray dogs, and there's a rabbit this last season that got into my garden in the backyard and was just stealing my plants like in the cartoons. I would go out in the morning and there would just be a hole in the ground where my artichoke was or my
Yeah.
arugula or whatever, just a hole in the ground. And it was a rabbit, but I go out in the morning and I go to my garden and I can hear the neighbors' cows mooing, and at night I can hear the coyotes howling. I get to hear all the little babies doing their little awoos, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I lived when I, oddly enough, when I lived in San Juan Capistrano, I lived on I had a lot of property, not a lot, but I had a little over an acre, and then behind me was just nothing but fields,
Hmm.
and so we were inundated with coyotes and rabbits, and then it just so we could hear the coyotes hunting and dining,
Yep.
and you could hear the rabbits, and say,
Yep.
oh, there goes a rabbit.
Yeah, and we have a lot of deer out here, um, wild turkeys. Yeah, there's a lot of wildlife out here. I love it.
So you are wild. You're animal, wildlife, your good healthy foods. I want to move to your daughters. Tell me about your daughter. How many daughters do you have?
Two daughters, both adults, both married and have babies of their own.
What are they like today?
Very productive. They both work in the medical field.
The reason I ask because I remember sort of following you on post and seeing different images, and you were a rather I don't know. See, permissive would be the wrong word to say you were a permissive parent, but you allowed your children to be who they were at that time.
Yes.
And 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 it was kind of countercultural, don't you think?
It absolutely was. Yeah, I would say that.
Tell me about that. Tell me about child rearing for people that have children now and thinking
Um,
about that.
I wasn't I wasn't the kind of mom who necessarily spanked my children a lot. I can count, on one hand the number of times I've spanked both of my girls. I was very tough on them in some ways because my expectations were high for them. And in other ways, I was a little more gentle. I introduced them to, I guess, what you would call subculture. I don't know, the punk rock world, the metal world. My late husband was a musician, so it was a different kind of lifestyle. Um, it was a little different than what I was used to growing up, having the dichotomy between rural Midwest or even suburban Midwest and California gay scene. My mom's best friend when I was growing up, he was gay and he was very influential in my life. And so spent a lot of time in West Hollywood and Long Beach and stuff like that, uh, in those communities, because of that. And fortunately, my kids were also allowed to experience some of that as well, through their uncle, the same man that helped raise me, helped me with them for some period of time. So I feel like they were able to see more of the world and the true nature of people, getting out and getting into some scenes. Also, my younger one didn't travel abroad with me. She chose to travel abroad with her dad. But my older one would come with me sometimes on my trips to Scandinavia and Europe.
Yeah, we talked. What is your attraction to Scandinavia? Is that
Um, well, in my opinion, um, I've been to Sweden, I've been to Norway, I've been to Iceland, haven't quite made it to Finland, but my very first solo international trip was to Norway, and the people there were just so genuinely kind. Um,
oh
I had not experienced that level of kindness in quite a few years, from total strangers. So I was able to form some brief friendships with people while I was there. I stayed in a hostel, so I got to see all kinds of different people from all over the world. I experienced the local culture, and the people were just so kind.
Yeah, I found the same thing. I spent some time, a couple of weeks in Norway. I went to Tromsø to see the lights. You know, up, it's
Hmm.
above the Arctic Circle, and so I
Yep.
was able to see the lights. And there's this false thing. That people go out and they say they'll go there, and we didn't see any lights. We were hunting. They have these expeditions are called. That
Hmm.
hunting for the lights, and you're really not hunting for lights. I think that's misrepresentative. You're hunting for clear skies because I think there's always lights. I think it's just clear skies. Where you're in that hemisphere.
Hmm.
It's hunting for clear skies. So if they're not clear skies, you're not going to see anything. Unfortunately, of the 3 days, I got to see the lights 2 of the 3 days, and so that was
First time I ever saw the lights was also in Norway. I was a little further south. I was in Trondheim, because at the time I was a single mom and I couldn't afford to go to Tromsø.
I don't know if it was. I have no idea what the cost was. I know I went by myself.
I know for me it was when I went to Trondheim, it was $700 round trip airfare and staying at the hostel. And quite honestly, I was there for 9 days and I only had roommates 2 of the days.
Oh, you know what I did talking about kindness. I was in um, what they're not called. Maybe it is part of the Airbnb, but I stayed with somebody. I stayed in somebody's house where I was a guest in their home,
Hmm.
and as you said, I met dear friends. We just became instantaneous dear friends, and it was just the kindest people. One thing I notice about Norway is the kids. When I talk kids, like under 30,
Hmm.
their English, their pronunciation of the English language is so superior to ours. They don't use slang, they don't use slur, they just speak clear, excellent, excellent English. And that was something for some reason that stuck with me.
I've also gotten to see people that I met while I was there because I was experiencing the local scene. So I went to nightclubs and stuff like that and met people there that I've been able to watch, get married and have children and stuff. It's been really neat, traveling and meeting people and staying in touch over the years.
And I'm not a good stay in toucher, Shauna. That's why it's years before I'll contact you again. It's just I'm not I don't do that. But I agree with you about whole Scandinavia. I think Sweden is one of my if I were to spend time like 3 or 4 months in Europe, Sweden would be a place that I could spend some time in.
Oh yeah, I didn't even get to experience everything I wanted to while I was there because, again, I was just there for like 9 days, um, and I had my daughter with me, and uh, we didn't stay in Stockholm, but we would take the bullet train to Stockholm, and that was a lot of walking, but seeing really cool stuff like the Vasa Museum and really the place where Stockholm Syndrome was invented.
Oh, really? Really?
Hmm.
Was it at a bank?
It was.
Yeah, yeah, no. That's fun. So tell me, what are your dreams for the future now? Now that you're doing it, what do you think you're here? I can't imagine you're here. You've arrived and you're steady, and
Oh, I
there's.
mean, I would like to continue my pinup modeling. Right now, I'm waiting to hear back. I entered a contest, and I'll find out at the end of this month whether or not I will be a calendar girl for a Hope for 22 a Day foundation, which serves our military, and those 22 a day who are suicidal and suffer from some mental health issues. So I'm hoping to continue to be able to do that. I would like to eventually move out of my current house and into a place on a lot of property, preferably off grid, and start becoming even more self sufficient, have, livestock and things like that. I do participate in baking competitions all over Southwest Missouri, and I've won, some first place ribbons. So
For
not too.
what? For what were you making to win ribbons?
So I've entered apple baking contests. So I've made cookies, pie, cheesecake. The cheesecake seems to be a really big hit. It's won two first place.
Amazing, amazing. So you kind of want to continue what you're doing, only bigger.
I do. And then, eventually when I have some property, I would like to have my own bakery, but I would also like to have a place for our soldiers to go, like a retreat for our soldiers that wouldn't cost them anything, where they could decompress and deal with some of their underlying mental health issues. I don't know how that's going to look, but that's something that I really want to do. It's very important to me.
Well, you know what something tells me is
I'll
that
get it
it will
done.
happen. If it's a dream, and then acting on a dream is more about time and situation. So you just kind of, I don't know about you, but I'll take a dream, and rather than put it in the forefront of my mind, in the forefront of, that's a big hand, forefront in my mind, I put it in the back of my mind,
Right.
and I just let it sit there. And information goes, will go through there, and then all of a sudden, if that idea is worthy, something will emerge.
Correct.
And what emerges typically is not what I expected, but something emerges from that idea.
Yeah, it would be nice to also help, people with brain injuries specifically. That's something that's pretty close to me, between my husband and my daughter. Both have had brain injuries. My husband's substantially worse. So that's also something that I kind of want to work with. I don't know what that's going to look like either, but I feel like there's some sort of advocacy need there.
Do you have any idea what your Myers Briggs type is?
Not anymore.
Are you an S? Do you know if you remember if you're an SJ?
I don't remember. I haven't taken one of those in 2 years, and I can't remember what the result
Yeah,
was.
there's a lot of nurses that are SJs
Mhm.
that are very sensing. They take in, they observe the world as it is right now, and they're very orderly. And they unlike my type, which is a P, you will make a plan and stick by a plan.
Mhm.
I will make a plan. If I make a list, and I'll lose the list. I have just, I'm so spontaneous. It's just spur of the moment. And boy, and I've gotten myself into some deep trouble being too spontaneous.
Yeah, I do tend to think things out and plan things. I do have spontaneity, but that's reserved for traveling situations. Here at home, I like to have things more planned, because of his brain injury. Sudden disruptions in the schedule can cause some issues with him. So we have everything planned out on a dry erase calendar. I update it every month, and if new appointments come up or whatever, I update it then too. But that's kind of like our reminder. And then I have several calendars and appointments and reminders in my phone, just so we're all on the same page.
Where does it? I was going to end the show, but I'm just saying, where does the creativity come when you're that when you're that firm, you're that committed to the now, and yet you have enormous creativity. That
Well, it's because it's my escape. My
creativity is your
creativity is
escape.
always my escape. So I'm hoping this year too that I'm going to be able to make more of my pageant dresses and stuff like that, my pinup contest dresses. That's a goal of mine to do this year too.
Let's wrap up the show with you telling us by what is a pinup exactly what I think it is from the like 1940s. It's just an image on a calendar, or on a poster, or on some sort of thing.
Correct.
And that is there a new rise in popularity of that, or?
I don't know if there's a new rise in popularity. I feel like there's different subcategories of it in California, more so than here. I feel like a lot more traditional pinup here versus greaser pinup in California.
Okay. How fun. That is great. Shauna Offerman, you are, this conversation is exactly what I wanted it to be. And it is scattered because we both are, there's so much to try to make it formal and organized interview list
Mm-hmm.
would just be boring.
It would
Just,
be.
yeah, I just want to see you rift. Give you your verbal guitar and let you just speak speak your own solos.
I appreciate it. This was fun. I hope we do this more than every
Yeah,
month.
we'll have to do it again because I certainly I want to catch up. I want to find out what is she doing next. Who is Shauna Offerman? That's the question for the day. Who is Shauna Offerman going to wrestle tomorrow?
Oh man, there's a lot coming.
Yeah, Shauna, thanks so much for spending time with me today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, well it's an honor, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the next chapter with Charlie. And until next, this is Charlie Hedges signing off. Bye for now.
Bye.